Let me see, who is that? Is that Everett? Line 4?
Yes.
How you doing?
Hey, John D. I'm doing awesome. I'm extremely alarmed about this latest thing came out as a Netflix movie called Leave the World Behind.
Worst movie I ever saw.
It's actually, I'm seeing it for what it is to me. It's predictive programming produced by Barack Obama himself. I didn't know he was a movie producer, but it shows what happens when there's a cyber attack. Basically, it's the EMP effect, which I have been dialed in on preparing for that, because on July 8th, 2020, I saw a video where Klaus Schwab spoke to his own people at the World Economic Forum, and he spoke in 1 minute. He said these words: "You're paying insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which will bring a complete halt to the power supply, the grid goes down, and to the transportation and to hospital services." He says, our society as a whole, the COVID-19 crisis, which July 8th, 2020, COVID is at the peak. Their truckers have been quarantined. There's not much traffic. The shelves have no bread or toilet paper in them. And he says the COVID crisis in this respect will be seen in comparison as a small disturbance compared to a cyber attack. And then he says, use the COVID crisis as a timely opportunity to take a lesson and to improve your unpreparedness for a comprehensive cyber attack. Now, this is 3.5 years ago, but I've been studying this and reading about the EMP, and I saw a video about Joe Rogan. Ted Koppel wrote a book about how our power grid's vulnerable, and nuclear bombs do emit this electromagnetic pulse, destroys all computers. And then I'm studying the prophecies in the Bible, and I'm seeing all of this as coming together with the whole. There's hope in this, and in other words, we know God's in control. Like we see the premeditated mass murder of Lahaina, and we know the 9/11 towers are coming down, and we see George Bush, Tony Blair in the White House saying we're going after these terrorists. When we saw the later, and we believed it at the time, but then we saw Building 7 drop down on its own footprint, which is a classic example of professional modern demolition technology, which requires weeks of technicians and identifying load-bearing columns and putting time sequence charges on them so they all come down at once. So we've been lied to about everything. And then I found, so I actually started my path of understanding who these globalists are and what they're doing. They're in the movie Leave the World Behind. It actually has a guy talking about how he met with the evil cabal who rules the world. So they're actually talking about that. This is a movie produced by Obama. So Obama, did I lose you, John?
No, I got you.
Okay, well, Obama actually is, if he's the producer, he's in control of the information and what they're saying and who's saying it. And they actually mentioned, this one guy says, well, I have to go away on a trip. Where are you going? Well, I'm going to go spend a week with the evil cabal that rule the world. And stuff like that is on there. And so we know... No, this is they call it predictive programming. Like they say, The Simpsons had cartoons about 9/11 happening before it happened. Like somehow they feel like they got to warn you, or they can't. Yeah, when something like this is coming, they have to be able to say, well, we were told ahead of time this was coming, and so I'm seeing it coming, and so I'm prepared, and I want everyone else to prepare, so I go around telling everybody they need to do that. And I believe God is showing me this, because one evening I come home, I'm a workaholic, I'm in my recliner, I pick up the remote to turn on the news, and lo and behold, on the news is an armed guard standing at the dock of Rio de Janeiro. It's at the end of the day, it's kind of twilight. It isn't completely dark, and a reporter's got a microphone asking him, what are you doing here at the dock with a gun? We don't need people at a dock, guarding our dock with a gun. And the guard responds, well, the dock workers during the day, it's bean harvest time in Brazil, and during the day they're shipping thousands of tons of beans are being shipped out of these docks. At the end of the day, they want to go home. I've been contacted. My job, stand here all night, guard these beans, because in my country, beans are the same as cash. And I started to realize we're watching the destruction of the dollar. The dollar goes down. If an EMP hits, if the grid goes down, there's no cell phone, there's no banking, no ATM, there's no money, nobody has bills to pay, nobody has income, but everybody everybody will have the same thing every morning. They wake up, and it will be an empty stomach, and food will be the only thing that people are looking for. And then because today we use the dollar as a means of exchange. You're the big man. You got a pocket full of $100 bills because you walk around believing, and when it has worked, where those $100 bills are actually a means of exchange, you can get you anything that you want. But when you take a lesson from COVID, like Klaus Schwab tells us to do, and if you would have went into a grocery store with a $100 bills determined to buy bread or toilet paper, that's too bad. The money won't work when there's nothing on the shelves. And so that's what the EMP does. It brings a complete halt to the power supply. The grid goes down. Then there's no traffic. All the computers work. See, I bought an older Ford truck with a 7.3-liter diesel in it, and then it ran pretty good for quite a while. Then it quit running. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get it fixed. I took it to a shop. After a while, they said it needs a new computer. I paid $4,500 for this truck, and they said a new computer is going to be $3,000.
Wow.
I'm picturing in my mind a nation. I don't know if we have 5 million 18-wheelers delivering things on our highways every day? I don't know what the number is. But if you have an EMP effect goes out and all the computers and all the trucks are fried, you're not going to go get new computers from anywhere. And you're not going to get any of them trucks to start up, run, and move again for a long time. And this is what I'm foreseeing is coming, because I also pay close attention to the words Jesus said in Matthew 24, where he does say there's a time of great distress coming, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the foundations of the earth until that time. I just listened to your friend on the radio talking about the wheelbarrow stolen, that the money was left behind, or they're burning the money to keep warm. And the prophecies are talking about a time of great distress coming, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the foundations of the earth. But in Isaiah 3:10, it says, tell the righteous it'll be well with them. They'll enjoy the fruit of their deeds. And Isaiah 33 talks about the trembling grips the godless, sinners are terrified. I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody to go hungry. I'm actually decided beans are the same as cash. That's the world we're going to be facing. It's not just like that in Brazil. And then I even remembered, we've all heard accountants referred to as bean counters. And then I kept processing this information. I realized in Revelation 6, the 4 horsemen, the third horse carries scales. Oh, and it says a day's wages will be a quart of wheat. I go, yeah, you can use a picture this EMP effect happening, and there's nothing, no delivery trucks coming. Everybody has nothing. I actually ordered 25,000 pounds of hard red winter wheat. I'm getting it in 4-foot by 4-foot boxes of 2,500 pounds each. And it's very economical in that bulk quantities. And I go, that food is going to be like money. It's going to be the means of exchange. People will do whatever you need them to do in exchange, and you will compensate them with wheat or food. Yep. That's what everybody's going to want.
Yeah,
and
you're
so
talking
I'm trying
about
to get everyone to stock up. And then I began to realize the Bible prophecies are examples, like Egypt. Egypt, the Pharaoh got the dream from God, 7 fat cows consumed by 7 skinny cows. Joseph tells him 14 years are coming, there'll be 7 abundant years, then 7 years of drought and famine. I go, we are like Egypt. Then when the drought, Joseph stockpiled for 7 years, and he had a lot of stuff set aside, and then his brothers came traveling from there a long ways away to get food, and he was able to provide for them. I'm trying to be like a Joseph. I'm trying to encourage other people, because what are we going to do with our money? We can see the dollar collapsing. We see the BRICS nations turning around. We see the whole world abandoning the dollar as the global reserve currency. We see the borders being overrun. We know about these global elite. You're spot on about them, John. But I actually discovered them in 2014. I heard a speech by Putin where he spoke at the Valdez Discussion Club, the Russian oligarchies, for like 2 hours, and he spoke in Russian, which I don't understand. But I found 10 bullet points that he made, and the statement he made, one was the whole world's global security is in chaos, and the entity that destroyed it is the United States. They've been watching us go around attacking other countries. And then as he goes on speaking in the 10 points, I think point 6, he says Russia's not trying to interfere with those who are attempting to construct their new world order. But he says if they interfere with Russia and her interest, they will be taught the true meaning of pain. I go, wow, Putin's talking kind of tough there. I go, exactly, but he knows who he's talking about, and I don't. What I wound up doing is I wound up just typing 3 words into the Google search, New World Order. Like 5,900 articles came up. I went through probably 5,000 of them. And one next month, I got a Verizon phone bill for $673 for exceeding my data limit, which I never heard of even anybody doing that. But anyway, I became educated about the New World Order. Then I found they've been making a speech. They've been saying global government's coming. For 30 years, they've been announcing, we're going to have a global government, everybody. It's coming, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen one way or the other, either by consent or by conquest. I go, this is their problem, John. We're watching our country being, the conquest of our country is happening because Putin's final statement, I heard it 10 years of 2014, he said, the last thing he says, there's still a chance to form a new world order. We could avoid a world war, but a new world order, it must include the United States, but can only do so if we will simply agree to the same terms as everyone else to be subject to international law, which is United Nations bowing down to them and all that. And then in my research, I saw President Trump announcing the United Nations on October 18th, 2018. He's at their New York City, their main meeting hall. They have 200 tables. Each table's got 3 or 4 chairs full of delegates. Each table's a different nation. He's talking to the whole world, and he says to them, you claim to have the authority to come into any nation, arrest any citizen in violating of international law. You have your international court system set up. He says, I'm here to tell you the United States doesn't recognize your international law, your international court system. You have no right to come into the United States and arresting any American citizen. We have our own court systems that works for us, and we don't your international court system is not, no, it doesn't. And we're not, so we're openly defying, we're not consenting, conquest is happening, but what they've been working to take this country down for so long, I figured out when I read a statement about Pearl Harbor, said the number one reason that this country was able to prevail over our enemies and fight 2 wars at the same time with the Japanese in the Pacific, the Nazis in Europe, is because we had a powerful established industrial base at that time. We're making Mack trucks, Peterbilt, Kenworth, Freightliners, Caterpillar, John Deere, Massey, Ferguson, Case tractors. We're making Dodge, Chevy, Ford, Plymouth, Chrysler, Cadillacs, every kind of thing you could think of. And the day Pearl Harbor was attacked, our entire massive established industrial base stopped making everything and started mass producing all kinds of military equipment, war equipment, cannons, ships and fighter jets. And now the globalists who've been studying this country and determining they want to have a one world government, and we're the biggest obstacle preventing that from happening because it must include us, and we're not going to consent. And then I realized this is why they passed the free trade agreement. They're after our industrial base. They had it shipped overseas. They're trying to cut off our supplies. In another day, I'm always looking, searching information. I saw a military channel, experts around a table, and they said, we're military experts. We're paid to study war. That's what we do. And one thing we have discovered is consistent. Every single time there's a war, the side that always loses are the ones whose supplies are cut off. I go, oh my goodness. Just a little while back, we had 700,000 shipping containers off our west coast. For some reason, we could not get those shipping containers brought onto shore. Our supplies are being cut off. We're witnessing a massive supply chain crisis nationwide. Our borders are being overrun. Everything you see happening, Biden shuts off the oil pipeline. Trump was building up everything. Trump had our national strategic oil reserves topped off. Biden's depleting them. He pulls out of Afghanistan. He abandons, he's our commander-in-chief, really. Well, if you're in charge of the military and you tell your military men to suddenly pull out and walk away and leave all the equipment you need to do your job.
Yep, I got you. All right, I'm going to have to pull the cord on the train right here. But, yeah, I get it. And for most people out there in the audience, we know this. The question is, what are we prepared to do about it? Thanks for the call, Everett. That was some good reaffirmation of what's going on here.